Or who we thought they were.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
You just talk about practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
And quickly, the Packers going here on third down. Rodgers tries to find a seam and does. St. Brown breaks the tackle inside the... Rodgers going to throw it. Fire, and it's caught. Touchdown, Adam. Rodgers on the fake, looking, pumping. Rodgers running, and he's in. Touchdown, Green Bay. 24 seconds left. Rodgers has time, can't find anyone. Now pressure. Rodgers running away, throwing on the run. He's got a completion to the big man. Here's Aaron Jones right up the middle and more. Jones makes a cut into Rams territory. Still going near the 30. Jones has a chance. Time. Rodgers now he's in trouble in the end zone. Steps away, throws Lazard on the run. First down. Gonna run it again up the middle. Inside the 5. Still going. 98 of them. Play fake here though. Rodgers going for it all. Looking to bring it open. He's got it. Lazard gonna go. Touchdown, Green Bay. Runs away from it. Jackson fires downfield. That's caught at the 40-yard line. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Substitution-wise. Quick throw into the outside. And in for the touchdown goes Stephon Diggs. Stays in the block. Jackson fires, and that will be intercepted in the end zone by Johnson. Karen Johnson. And only Jackson can stop him now. Too late to the end zone. Touchdown. Mahomes gonna run it in. Sidestep touchdown. Look at this. They can do it right side with Hardman. Nicole Hardman. Phelps at the 10. Leaps and flies in for the touchdown. Around the fewest points. But the Browns are trying to fire that. As they hit at the 5 to Higgins. He lost the football as he reached for the pylon. And they rule it a touchback. Escapes the pressure. And he's intercepted. It's picked up by Matthew. Tyrann Mathieu spins out of bounds and in zone. Landry. It's a touchdown. 3rd and goal. And Hunt is home for the touchdown. He's in trouble. Trying to run for it. Running. He's going to dive for it. Denny rolling out. Throws it. Hill. And the Chiefs are heading to the AFC Championship game. End over end. Deontay Harris, a big part of their offense now, gets popped. Survives the hit and now has some room to run. Big return by Deontay Harris, still rolling. Harris is down at the 20. 2nd and 9 now. This one's picked. Intercepted by the Bucks. And it's Murphy bunting down the sideline. To the outside in a direct snap to Kamara. Now Winston. Now Traquan Smith. Flag is down. Smith is into the end zone. End zone. Smith spinning and they got it for the touchdown. Quick throw. Cook makes the catch. First down. Ball's out and into the arms of Devin White. Good protection again. Pass caught. Touchdown Fournette. 3rd and 11 now. The throw is what a catch. Game 2nd and 8. Brees throws and he's picked by Devin White. Another turnover and White picks his way down the sideline. Brees able to step into this one. This one's up for grabs and picked.
Let's talk about going out into the sunset. Every player in any sport, they want to do it. You play a long-ass Hall of Fame career. You want to go out with that fantasy ending. Super Bowl win like John Elway. Or even, guys like Ray Lewis, Michael Strahan. dudes that played their entire career and just want to see them end on a good note. Unfortunately, my friends, that is not going to be the case for a one Drew Brees, who might have had one of the worst games of his entire career to end his career. You knew it was over. I know a lot of Saints fans wish that he was going to keep playing, but the look in his eyes throughout that game, honestly, the look in his eyes throughout the season, this guy wanted this. He wanted to go out into the sunlight, and it just didn't fucking happen for him. Guys, how sad was that to watch on Sunday? And just, it's not the ending you wanted for Drew Brees. 3 interceptions. I mean, not even 200 yards passing.
Yeah, it's tough. It was tough to watch. I mean, the Saints lost because of Drew Brees' play, period. And to kind of the moment that kind of sticks with me, the image that sticks with me is him walking out of that through the tunnel off the field for the last time, and then he like looks back. It was like almost like a movie cliche, and he just looks upset, and it's like, oh, that's heartbreaking because he's from all accounts, this is such a nice dude.
Yeah, and the moment that I saw that it really hit him was when Tampa Bay got that first down right before the 2-minute warning, and he just put his hands on his knees. Like, you knew up until then he was just like, guys, give me one more drive. Then we can get an onside kick. And you could tell that was his mindset. But as soon as that first down hit, it was either right before the 2-minute warning or right after the 2-minute warning. Like, it just set in and his face sunk. And it was demoralizing to watch. I couldn't imagine what he felt like.
Well, it's like Peyton Manning. You know, Peyton Manning, you wanted him to go out on top, and he did. But his play wasn't there. No. Just like Drew Brees. He still won a Super Bowl and then walked away from the game. So John Elway's a guy who he went out truly on the top of his game. He won a Super Bowl. I mean, John Elway is probably the best ending of all time. You could also probably go Ray Lewis, Michael Strahan, but John Elway won 2 Super Bowls and then walked off into the sunset before never winning a Super Bowl prior to that. So I think that's the greatest ending in sports history.
So, Drew, I have a question. What are your thoughts on how Brett Favre ended his career? Because, after he left, he had some bumpy starts, specifically in the Jets. But, his last season was pretty solid. So, like, how do you view Brett Favre, A, as a Vikings fan, and B, as an NFL fan?
Well, Brett Favre actually didn't go out on top. He had the 2009 NFC Championship where, his interception basically is one of the many reasons that cost him the game. But a lot of people don't remember, and I can tell that you don't remember. He actually
that's why I brought it up, because it was very Brees-like. Like, he lost, again, kind of similar ending on an interception is why I brought that up.
No, he played another season. See,
did he?
It says, yes, he came back. The Vikings were really good. He came back. They went 4-12. I actually saw his last game ever, his last touchdown pass, all live in Minnesota. I saw his last concussion ever happen like 30 feet away from me. Yeah, no, he played another season, and it was...
Dude, I forgot about this season. I thought it was that playoff game.
It was brutal. And his final play was Julius Peppers coming around the side and ripping him down and throwing his head right into the turf. Do you remember when the Minneapolis or the Metrodome collapsed?
Yep. Mm-hmm. The snow through the ceiling.
That was the season. So then they played the final few games in University of Minnesota Stadium. They were worried that the field was too hard, and I saw it with my own eyes. Brett Favre, like, he was dazed and was just out of it. Got thrown to the ground. Yeah, Brett Favre had a terrible end to his career.
Is Big Ben looking like that kind of year next year? I mean, again, I'm just kind of thinking off the cuff here, but I could definitely see Ben being horrible and the Steelers going 4-12 next year.
I hate when quarterbacks do that. They go play for a different team. And look, I mean, like Phillip Rivers right now, like, he should have ended his career with San Diego and been done. Plays another year, and he looked terrible. And then you have that awkward Montana with the Chiefs phase. Like, it's just I don't know why quarterbacks do that.
Totally forgot Steve McNair played for the Ravens and had a horrendous season. I'm obviously looking up these lists now, but I totally forgot McNair on the Ravens.
Yep.
Woof.
Yeah. And so the Drew Brees, ever since that rib injury, has just not been the same guy. It's been a long time coming, and Bill Simmons said in his podcast this weekend, and I agree with him. He just hasn't had that like light in his eyes. Ever since he came back from that rib injury, he's been kind of a liability. And I have to wonder with the Saints, with Taysom Hill, with Jameis Winston, how much are they going to regret not making that switch? Because this was the team to do it with, man. I think they could have done it with I think they could have done it with Taysom Hill. Obviously, Taysom Hill didn't even play in the Bucs game, but Jameis Winston.
What about his pass to drop right in the bucket? I mean, that was incredible.
Perfect passer rating. But yeah, man, that Saints game was just absolutely bizarre. There's really no getting around it. Slant boy, 0 catches. So let's just talk about it. Michael Thomas, what a disappointing season after one of the most electric seasons in NFL history, just straight up. What did he have, 160 catches? Something stupid, like just last year. And now he's not even getting any catches in the divisional round. He's gone, right? They got to trade him.
So I just saw a report today that I guess he's hurt. He forced himself to come back before he was ready because he wanted a chance to win one more Super Bowl with Brees, or go to another Super Bowl with Brees. I guess he's getting deltoid surgery and a surgery to clean up his ankle, and I guess he's a mess. So kind of one of those seasons lost to injury. But still, if you're on the field, he had opportunities. He was targeted 4 times, 0 catches, 0 yards. The only exciting play he was a part of is when he got stiff-armed on that interception return by Bunting.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, and his body language the whole game was just poor. I don't know. I mean, there was some friction between him and the organization, getting in fights with cornerbacks because they called you slant boy. That guy's just thin-skinned as they come, and I don't know, man. I just a couple seasons ago, or just last year going into this year, to pry him away from the Saints, it would have taken such a ridiculous price tag. And now they're probably going to move him for peanuts just to get him out of the organization.
There's I think a certain type of receiver, a certain builder receiver, guys that, especially these physical guys that play a lot of inside routes, that once they lose that first step, it's kind of it. They only have one step they can afford to lose. Some guys, their speed holds on longer, but like Des Bryant fell off the face of the earth. Even like Justin Blackmon, he didn't even make the transition to the NFL because he didn't even have that extra step that he needed. So you get some of these guys, big physical inside guys that run these slant routes, that run these hard routes over the middle, and there's not a lot of margin for error. And I mean, it's hard to say because he was injured all year, but is he on the decline? Is he to a point where he's already peaked, and what you can get out of him is a percentage of that?
Right. Brady plays just good enough to get it done. If you think that Brady played, it's amazing that Brady's in another NFC championship. But if you think he played exceptionally well, he really didn't. He did just enough to win this game.
Manager, what a game management perspective. I mean, he played a little bit better than Manning did in the year he won a Super Bowl, but that's kind of what I felt like I was watching. Like, he wasn't making super difficult throws. He was making easy reads, taking what the defense was giving him. Not necessarily checkdowns, but he wasn't going for the home run. So I saw shades of what Manning did in his Super Bowl run.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I've been saying I've said it a few times, and I think this is really what most people should have expected out of Brady. He's a passenger very much. He went to Tampa for a reason. They have a loaded defense. They have enough offensive weapons. For Tom Brady, you're going to earn the contract you make this year on a handful of plays. And in those situations, can he be clutch enough? Can he make the play that needs to be made to win the game? Last week, he made just enough plays. If he continues to do that, they have a really good chance to win the Super Bowl.
Right. What about Devin White and that Bucs defense? I mean, it really is peaking right at the right time. And but still, I got to tell you, the Saints still could have won this game. I mean, the Jared Cook fumble doesn't happen. There are 4 turnovers to 0, and they won by 10 points. So I'm telling you, I'm looking at this NFC Championship game, and gosh, it's so hard to bet against Brady. But man, do I ever have my doubts. It's weird that they can win a game, and I think I even have more doubts than they had with them going into it. I don't know.
I think there are a lot of similarities to what the Bucs just did and what the Browns did to the Steelers, where the turnover differential was so extreme. It was 4 or 5, and the game was still not that decisive. There was still an opportunity for the team that turned the ball over 4 or 5 times to win.
11-point game in the Cleveland game, 10-point game in this game.
Yep, and then you saw what happened.
Way more for both sides. Way more on both sides.
Yeah.
Who benefits more from the cold in Lambeau? Tom Brady, who has made a career out of it, or Aaron Rodgers?
I say Aaron Rodgers just by the virtue that I think that the ranking that it goes is Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, the rest of Green Bay, then the Bucs. Like I think that the supporting cast around Tom Brady isn't ready for this. They're still, they're NFL players. They're still, some of them played in cold weather in college, but I mean, Lambeau Field is Lambeau Field, and Rodgers looks as good as ever.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, we've all seen that video of where he chuckles, right? And where he's just reading the defense, pre-play. Nobody's seeing the field better right now. So I don't care if the game's played on Lambeau or the Moon. I'm taking Rodgers no matter what, because the guy is just playing on a different level.
Yeah, he's starting to attack the edge of the defense too. So they had a few plays last week. The one in particular where he gets out, they play fake the sweep across the left. He gets on the edge, pump fakes, gets the defensive end up in the air, then just walks into the end zone. If he's going to start attacking the edge of defenses, and his release is so fucking fast, he's going to be a lot of problem.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, though, I thought the Saints were the best team in the NFC. I've said that now for a few weeks. What happens? I bet against Brady, and he fucks me again. So I can tell you right now, I'm betting on Green Bay, and I will be 0% shocked when Brady does it again, because he's done it for almost 2 decades.
Same.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm totally betting the Packers, because I'm telling you, I just was not impressed with the Bucs. I mean, the Saints are so good. They give up 4 turnovers, and the Bucs only won by 10. If Brady can look better than that, and I'm sure he can. I mean, the Saints are a really good defense. And just a week prior, Brady passed for 370 against Washington. So he hasn't been carried the whole season, but man, he was carried in that game. And they just looked so off. There was so many passes where he was just throwing to nothing. And then he'd kind of yell at his receivers like he does, like, why weren't you in position? And they just seem like they're not really in sync. And maybe that's just because the Saints defense is so good, but
I mean, look at a few of these stats, Drew. Fournette catches 5 out of his 6 passes. Like, when did Fournette learn to catch? He got bailed out from some great Godwin, Tyler Johnson, Cameron Brate. Like, if a half a dozen of those passes don't go through, we might be talking about a different outcome. So I think his stats actually look way better than he played, because he got bailed out.
Yeah, Cameron Brate, I think, led the team in receiving.
He did.
And then I think it was, Gronk was kind of completely, you didn't even see Gronk. And where was Aaron Hernandez? I don't think he had a single catch.
Nope, he did not.
Anyways. Yeah, the Bucs game was crazy. Let's just jump right into the Packers game, because I also thought, I was not surprised with this game. In fact, I thought the Packers game was the easiest game of the week, just in terms of who was going to win it. I was very worried about the Packers covering, but geez, it's just more of the same from the Rams. Are the Rams done with Jared Goff?
Let me look up his contract. I bet if they have an option, you gotta be. I mean, I think with possibly a dozen other quarterbacks, they have a chance to at least be competitive in that game. They weren't competitive from pretty much the opening drive. I think the Rams got it and they went 3 and out or 6 and out. They have the players on the edge. They have Akers looked good again. This has got to be his 3rd or 4th game in a row. He looked good. And, the defense is obvious. I mean, there's a glaring hole on that Rams team, and it's Jared Goff. I just don't know if they have the ability to get out of it.
Yep. So I think they have an out. I don't know if they have to get out of it this year. I think they already have a quarterback on their roster who makes them a better team. I think Wolford should start out of camp, as long as he has a good camp and is healthy, should get an opportunity. I think the offense looked way more dynamic with him under center.
The thing that I'd be worried about with Goff going forward for the Rams is when you have a guy like that clearly is like barely in the top 10 on your team, and he's making more than everybody in the locker room, that's a problem. It creates issues. I'm telling you, it's created issues with the Vikings. I'm certain of that. With Kirk Cousins, and it's just kind of the nature of the position, but he is making so much more than everybody else in the locker room that I think they got to get rid of him just because he's so not that guy. They clearly just whiffed on that contract. And to eat a couple more years of that contract and have him be the highest paid guy in there, try to pretend that he's your leader, I don't know, man. I just think it's bad for chemistry.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem like a leader. Like, and I don't, that isn't a knock on him. Some people naturally have that ability and that presence. And some people, you just can't conjure it. I mean, you see it a lot more in the college game than you do in the pros because you kind of got to have that edge to make it in the pros. But I mean, some guys just aren't natural leaders. They're not naturally outspoken. And unfortunately, I just see that as Goff doesn't have that X factor, to be.
And you can't fake it in the NFL. Like you can't. Like these are grown men. They've been on teams their entire lives. They've been around leaders their entire lives. You just can't fake that shit. And I think for me, this Rams game really solidified two opinions that I had. One, that Aaron Rodgers is playing at the highest level this season. I mean, I think he's runaway MVP winner. And two, Aaron Donald's the most important player on that Rams team. He obviously was battling with an injury to his his chest, his abdomen, which really neutralizes a lot of things that he does well. And they looked like a different team without him providing that rush up the middle.
So I just looked it up on Sport Track. They're stuck one more year. They can cut him going into the 2022 season.
What's the dead money versus the actual money this year?
This year cap dead cap of 31. It drops to 9. So that's 2 years from now. So next year they still can't. They're still stuck, but 2 years from now they can get out of it. Again, 9 million dead cap. So teams do that. They make that choice all the time.
Yeah, that's not bad. But 30, I don't think you can do that.
Can't do it at 30. So no, they got their one more year, which should make it a pretty easy decision.
Yeah. Regardless, they're set up pretty damn good next year. Look for the Rams to just be fantastic, honestly, next year, even with Jared Goff. You got to love what you see out of that defense, but they do lose Staley to the Chargers, their defensive coordinator. That could be huge. The defense kind of came out of nowhere this year, and he was certainly a big part of it. I think it was a great hire by the Chargers, by the way, because if you can get a defensive-minded guy on that team, they already have so many great defenders with, Derwin and Bosa. He already has so many great pieces to plug in. I think the Chargers, if you can electrify that defense, they can be a contender as soon as next year. But, yeah, got to love the Rams going forward, even in a loss. And they weren't going to do anything. Even if they somehow carved out that game, they weren't that team. And they were destined to give us another terrible Super Bowl if they did make it. Yeah. So I'm really glad that the Packers, once the Packers won, I was like, okay, we can't lose. It's either going to be Drew Brees against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady against Aaron Rodgers. And halfway through that Bucs game, even though I bet on the Saints, I immediately was rooting for the Bucs. I'm like, man, I don't want to see Drew Brees just look like this in another game. Give me the Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers NFC Championship. I think it's going to be wild. I can't wait for it.
Should be really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have two fantastic games, and it's the games we deserve. It's honestly probably it's in the AFC. It's by far the two best teams. If the Ravens would have got it, the Ravens are flawed, and it starts with Lamar Jackson. And if the Browns would have got in, it would have only because of Mahomes got hurt. So we got our perfect matchup in the AFC. And in the NFC, I think we got the two teams. I think we got the Packers, who are, I think, by far, they have the best player playing the best. And then you have the best story, which is the Bucs. So AFC, two best teams. NFC, best player, best story.
Yep. And I got to ask, we've talked about it a little bit, but Matt LaFleur, are we kind of sleeping on this guy? Because Aaron Rodgers looked almost like he was done. And I don't know how much of that was a product of Mike McCarthy. But the second Matt LaFleur stepped into Green Bay, that team, they won 13 games immediately. They've gone to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is playing like Aaron Rodgers again, but are we sleeping on this guy? Does he not get enough credit in Green Bay? Let me ask you, is he a top 5 coach?
No. I mean, again, an elite quarterback playing the best he can covers up so many warts. I mean, how many offensive coordinators rode the coattails of the Patriots? I mean, I just think your value can get vaunted, or vaulted when you got a quarterback playing like Aaron Rodgers is.
Covers warts. Okay.
Is that a saying? Is that a thing?
It is.
Jimmy's Jimmy's
No, I mean top 5, definitely not. Obviously, Belichick, McVay, McDermott. You're not gonna like to hear this. I still think Tomlin better, Brendan, but he's definitely it's an improvement over McCarthy, which again, kind of a low bar. It's really hard to distinguish how much is LaFleur and how much is Aaron Rodgers getting to do what he wants and kind of have a heavy hand in running that offense. So
if you're the Cowboys, how do you watch what the Packers did last year and then go out and hire Mike McCarthy?
The same way you go out and bring in Jason Garrett.
True.
They're just so terrible.
Just by the way, I just Googled "cover your warts." That's not a saying. That's
not a saying. Why would that be a saying?
It's so nasty just to think about. All right, guys. So we covered the NFC. Let's jump around a little bit. We'll come back to the AFC games from last week, and I do want to talk about something because we were talking about Brett Favre earlier. And speaking of Brett Favre, Jared Porter. The newly hired dude, you want to talk about trash organizations? I know we don't talk about the MLB much. The fucking Mets are a trash organization.
I want to stop that for a second, actually. So I think they're heading in the right direction, and I think this is a example of that. So brand new owner, Cohen, just bought out the Wilpons, and has already said, "Hey, we're going to spend money. We're one of the biggest markets in the entire world. We're going to start acting like it and spend money." They go out and trade for Francisco Lindor. He gets rid of this D-bag right away. So I think they're heading in the right direction, but they have been absolutely just a terrible bottom feeder. They're the Knicks of the MLB.
It seems like they're always headed in the right direction, though. They're always like
they faked it a lot.
They're always a dark horse darling team, and they always fall flat. I can't even tell you, since I was like a little kid, it's always been the case. And they bring up these prospects that, they look like phenoms, and then like they kind of fall. They're a bizarre organization. They just always look like they're about to take off, and they never do.
I mean, Steve Cohen's also a scumbag, though. I mean, he's got own like Mina Kimes has been pretty vocal on his, because she's the person who outed Jared Porter as well. And, Steve Cohen has his own baggage of being pretty sexist and pretty awful in the building. And, everyone knows about his insider training or trading. I understand what you're saying, Derek, saying they're making right business moves. But how I interpreted Drew's question is it's just a mess of an organization from not only from a PR, but a history. I mean, you got to remember they're the organization that gave Bobby Bonilla the worst contract. Well, the best for Bobby Bonilla, but just like a reoccurring joke every year. They're a joke. And one good move doesn't erase that. Kind of to go back on what Washington football team, just because they change the name and fire a few people doesn't erase years and years.
But that's all Dan Snyder. Like I think when there's a new owner, you kind of have to give that new owner a benefit of the doubt because obviously the regime's changing. Granted, not necessarily a great guy either.
Let's refocus though, because we didn't even really say it. But Jared Porter, their GM that they just hired a month ago, was fired because he's aggressively texting
his junk
to reporters, and like you look at the guy and he just looks like a fucking scumbag. He looks like a guy that would text his dick all around. But let's talk about dick pics, especially in sports. It seems to happen a lot. But dick pics, I've never really understood this. But some guys are fucking super into it. I've talked to some friends, just random people. And like when I hear about somebody that actually sends dick pics, I want to know everything about it. I'm like, all right, so what's going through your mind? Like, man, I'm really close to seal the deal. You know what she's going to want to see? She's going to see my dick. Like, what is the final straw that makes you send that picture? Are you drunk every time? Or what is it?
I don't understand that thought process at all. Because for me, it's like, there's been so many pieces of art where the woman form is beautiful and everything. Like, I don't even want to see my own dick. Like, it's like I want to see it as little as possible. I could not imagine ever sending it to somebody and being like, "Yeah, that's gonna win you over."
Look at that thing.
Right? It's just like, "Hey, you want to see this bunch of skin that hangs off me?"
So yeah, I mean, maybe I missed it. I started dating my wife in college 10 years ago, so like maybe I missed that. I mean, I've never been in a situation needing to be in that, so maybe I can't. Maybe my brain just doesn't connect on where that's a thing with people our age. But also anyone who does it is stupid. Everyone have seen the fappening and people get hacked. Like, hey, what an idiot for that Jared Porter. If he had aspirations to be a GM at that level and he's continuing to do that, like that's just stupidity on their part. And then to blast the fucking Mets some more, how don't they have some tech guy know and like vet him that he's like doing that shit? How do they don't say, turn over your computer, like, again, make sure they're not hiring.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I feel
this isn't like a top securities clearance or anything.
I don't know.
You know what made me laugh about this whole thing? It's his first month on the job. What are you doing? What are you doing when you first get a new job? You're doing everything you can not to fuck up. Like seriously, by like year 4, you're really starting to coast. But like the first 4 months, dude, you're all over it. You're answering every email within 5 minutes. Like you're fucking doing all the right things. The last thing I'm doing is going in the bathroom and fluffing up my dick and sending it to the chick I just saw in the hallway.
So I just assume that this is like old stuff that like sometimes these take a while to come out. These were like recent things that this was since he's been hired.
Yeah, I thought it was.
No, it unfortunately it's a little bit darker than that. Again, Mina Kimes put it out on Sunday. It came out. It's a girl from 2017 when he was a scout for the Cubs organization. He met her at like a spring training. Like she was either a report. She was at some level organization, and he just won't stop texting her. Like creepy, like I haven't seen you in 2 years, dude, and like kind of like forgot about him and would delete his DMs and delete his text. And then she sees, holy shit, this guy's a GM. Like this guy's in a position of power, probably overseeing how many women I need to speak up. Right. So that's kind of how it happened.
That's great. Yeah. Honestly,
don't send unsolicited anything.
Yeah, and that was the thing, 100% unsolicited. Like for years, it just kept going on.
Terrible.
Right. Fucking scumbags in high positions. There's so many of them out there. But that's pretty wild. Just another black eye on that organization. But let's also talk about it. Obviously, James Harden. I think we talked about it a little bit last week. Harden to the Nets. He comes out and he looks pretty un-Harden-esque. Let's just say that. In his debut, what did he start doing? He's pretty much like trying to show like, hey, look at all these things I can do. Like I can pass and I can play defense. And the funny thing is Harden actually is a good passer, but he just doesn't pass. It's kind of like there's been a lot of players that are like that. I mean, He actually is a really good passer, but he doesn't pass. He's been passing so far with the Nets, and it's almost like he's just trying to like put up a show, and you got to wonder how long this is going to last.
Dude, it's the honeymoon phase. What did you just say right when you got hired? You're doing, again, he's probably a self-aware person. He's seeing what everyone else is saying. I give it a month, 2 tops before he reverts back to his old self.
Yeah. By the way, definitely a guy who sends unsolicited dick pics.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
He's hairy as fuck.
Yeah. As much time as he spends in strip clubs, he's sending unsolicited dick pics.
Like a little totem pole sticking out of a fucking giant bush. That's what
I didn't see those details in the contracts. Did the Houston strippers come with? Like, how did that work? Like, did he get traded for cash considerations and like he just gets bans as soon as he gets to Brooklyn? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so when they brought the 4th team in to make the rest of the trade work, Atlanta sent 2 strip clubs to New York.
There we go. Yeah. That makes I missed the fat and the fine print, but that checks out.
There's no way this works, right? Between fucking crazy ass Kyrie and Durant, and like there's too many just terrible personalities, right?
Yep. No, a best tweet I saw on the subject was they said they're trying to build a championship team with a bunch of guys you wish you didn't start a conversation with. And what they mean by that is, have you ever just been at a party and you start talking to a dude and he's like, yeah, I got like 4 cats. And you're like, oh, all right. Hey, there's my friend Bob. I'm going to go talk to him. Like, fucking, you just want to get the fuck out of there the second you start. All these guys, uninteresting. The most interesting about Harden is that he goes to strip clubs. Kyrie Irving is a fucking flat earther that went to Duke. Like, what? Duke is a great college. What is that? And then KD is the guy that comes up with burner accounts to go defend himself. Did you ever see, speaking of Cohen's, I think it's, what is it, Michael Cohen, the attorney for Trump?
Yeah.
I think it goes down in history as one of the best burner profiles of all time. He came out with a Twitter profile that was women for Cohen. And when it broke that it was his account, just going through it was like the funniest thing. He'd be like, oh, Cohen, he's so brash. And he's writing all this stuff. And he's like, he's so ruggedly handsome. Well, KD, it's known that
with his burner.
Burners because, dude, he just gets ripped. Ever since he went to Golden State, that guy's just a fucking punching bag. So I almost don't blame him. Like, he has no defense.
And he's so thin-skinned. He needs everybody to love him. Like, do you ever see the Peyton Manning at the ESPYs? He did the monologue or whatever. He's talking about the gymnastics, the Fab Five or whatever, the gymnastics team. And he goes, man, they're so dominant that I heard KD wants to join them next year. And they zoom in on KD, and he's just blank face, just like so mad. And then they're like, right, Russ? And they zoom in on Westbrook, and he's just like bearing his hand because he just knows he can't be on camera like laughing at that.
Yep.
Like it's ridiculous.
So Drew, I know you love Bill Simmons, and I know you watched his short-lived TV show. Do you remember when Kevin Durant was on there? And
great interview.
Yeah, that's what I was like, that was actually a very impressive interview, and it was very real. Like, why can't we see that Kevin Durant? Like, it seems like there's a genuine good dude in there, but maybe he's just putting himself around wrong people. I don't know what it is. Like, that interview, I watched that, and I was like, damn. I don't know if it was just Bill Simmons really good at his job or what, but I recommend that video to anyone to go and watch it.
I think from my perspective, just kind of, seeing basketball from the outside, it seems like there's been a huge transition in the last few years where brand has become so much more important than it was ever before, where guys really care what their brand is, what their value is, what people think of them. And I honestly think that, the NBA fans as a whole overreacted to him going to Golden State. And I think he got a really bad rap about that. And I don't think it sat well with him. To me, that seems to be like when he turned, is when people turned on him for going to Golden State.
I mean, I think it was a trash decision, and I think he deserved to be destroyed for it. But my analogy with Kevin Durant is, remember when you were in middle school or elementary school, and there was that one kid that shit his pants, and you remember that kid shit his pants for the next 10 years, like going all the way. Like if you're in 3rd grade with Dan, and he shit his pants, and you like go through middle school, every time you see Dan, you just know he shit his pants. Well, Dan can go 2 ways. He can go through middle school and high school and just have a bravado about him and pretend like it doesn't matter. And like everybody's going to forget that Dan shit his pants. Or you can go the Durant route, where like every time you see Dan, he's got this look in his eyes like he knows you're thinking that he shit his pants. That's my thing about Durant. And it really is. I think that every interaction, he just assumes that everybody's kind of after him, because he's just a thin-skinned guy. Like, if he would just be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I joined Golden State and I won a bunch of rings, and yeah, we were the best team maybe in NBA history. Like, fuck you. Who wouldn't have done that? If he would have just taken that stance, but he didn't. He tried to defend it. Dude, it's so cowardly. He went to the team that beat him.
I think that's why it looks especially bad. But like, if you're saying, hey, I wanted to leave Oklahoma City because they're not building a winner, I only have such so long in my career, and it was the best opportunity for me, the best place to go. I mean, I don't blame him necessarily.
Quit reminding us that you shit your pants. We can see it in your eyes. Just forget about it. That's, but yeah. So we'll see that the Harden thing. I mean,
and guess what? He did it again. I mean, it just turns out to like, dude, you are what you did, man. Like, you did it in Golden State. He clearly recruited Harden. right? Like that, that shit happens all the way. I mean, it's technically illegal, but that shit happens all the time. Players recruiting players. So I mean, eventually, just dude, like you said, own up to it, and we'll respect you a little bit more. Until then, you are what you are.
Yeah.
So players on the move. While we're talking about people leaving Houston in Exodus, what are the odds that you think Deshaun Watson actually leaves Houston and go and plays for someone else next year? I mean, he wants out, but there's a lot of mechanics that are kind of difficult. He's on a big contract. He's got a lot of value. So there's only a handful of places that really make sense as far as a trading partner.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Gun to head right now, I think he gets moved. I mean, this is just so messy right now.
It seems just broken.
It seems absolutely broken. If I'm the Texans, I just want him to quit tweeting. I want to quit talking about it. I want this to fall out of the news cycle. I want the AFC champion or the championship games and the Super Bowl to totally kill this storyline. That's the only hope I think for the Texans, is that this just eventually dies, and then we randomly remember it next August.
So if that's what you want, then, and this is how I feel about it too, he has to be traded before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, again, I'm sure that's what they don't want. Like I'm sure they want this to be buried. I bet that's why the Watson camp, just for that reason, Derek, wants to keep bringing this up, because they want it done and over with.
But if you think about it, it happens before the Super Bowl, it's news for a couple of days, and then we're right back into like Super Bowl week, and that's what we care about. If it happens in the offseason, when ESPN's scratching for any headline they can get because NFL's not on, that shit's going to run for a week.
Can they trade right now? I don't think you can trade until the season's over.
I don't think you can either. I don't think the actual offseason starts until like March 1st.
So here's my take on Deshaun Watson. First of all, he's a top 5 quarterback, maybe even top 3 in the league. You could argue he was an MVP this year. 112 rating, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on arguably the worst roster in the entire NFL, right? To me, you got to make it work. If I had to bet, and I'm betting that the Houston's going to make the right decision, you have generational talent. You stick with this guy. You do everything you can to make it work. Just a year ago, it looked like things weren't working out with Aaron Rodgers. Seriously, everybody was talking about, is Aaron Rodgers going to play with the Vikings next year? Like Brett Favre, is he going to play with the Bears? Like, how's this thing going to end with Aaron Rodgers? But no, the Green Bay organization, they stuck it out. They got him back on board despite the myriad mistakes that they fucking made, and almost just blew that situation. And he's the MVP candidate now. Like you try to make it work however you can. If I had to bet, just because of how incredibly good he is, I would bet that they try to make it work. They have to.
Yeah. The only way that happens, though, is if you get an owner. And to me, NFL owners are probably the top 1% as far as guys who probably have a difficult time admitting when they're wrong, have been powerful men their entire lives. And so you need now Cal McNair, who grew up in McNair, who's been in the organization for how long, to fall on his sword and say, hey, I fucked up. Like anything short of that, I don't think Watson stays.
I don't think it's on ownership. I think it's on Caserio.
Okay.
I mean, because Casario's the new guy, right? He wasn't there when things were bad. Like if there's one guy that can make it good, dude, the Houston organization is trash. I mean, the owner that died a couple of years ago, he was, he said some pretty racist shit. When Kaepernick was kneeling, he was talking about, said a bunch of bullshit. So I don't blame Watson for being mad, but you did bring in this young GM that, hopefully
that Watson did not want, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
There's so much drama there as well. Some people in the Texan organization say, hey, Deshaun, you're going to get your say in it, and then absolutely go the other direction. Fuck, that is...
And not only that, but it seems like a weird hire for me because they asked Bill Belichick about it, and Bill Belichick was actually pretty forthright when it came to this. They asked him what they thought about it because he came from New England, and Bill's quote was, Nick's not a personnel guy. So that's not really a vote of confidence for your new GM.
No, not one bit. Drew, you mentioned, that if you're a gambling man, though, if you look at our odds right now, it's at -210 for him to stay. Miami's the next closest at +400. So Vegas is pretty sure that Deshaun Watson isn't going to get traded. If
Houston trades him, they would have to nail every pick they get for him to not regret it.
Yep. In a year where the draft is probably the most complicated because so many players opted out and no combine and limited in-person interviews. So 1 year that you don't want draft capital would arguably be the most important for Houston. So that hurts Deshaun Watson big time.
And if I did have to move on from Deshaun Watson, the only guy I'd do it for is Justin Fields. So, I can see the Jets angle way more than I can see the Dolphins one. So yeah, it's going to be bizarre. I think they, for the sake of their organization, they need to keep him and do whatever they can. Like, just go to him and be like, dude, what do you want from us? Like, you're our guy. You've been our guy since the beginning. Let's make this right. Let's make this right, baby. Come on.
So he has enough money on that contract. Is he in a position to hold out and sacrifice paychecks because he knows he's going to get paid on that contract regardless? I just thought of this. So I haven't really thought of it through all that much. But could we see we've seen it with running backs, but we haven't seen it with quarterbacks. Could we see the first big holdout?
I don't think it just doesn't happen with quarterbacks. I don't know what his would be.
Typically holdouts are because they're unhappy with the money. Like, the money's not changing for him.
Yeah, nobody would pity him. I would. No. He would lose everybody in that. No, I don't think there's a chance he does that. But it's a wild situation. Talk about shitty organizations, the Texans, man, and they've been wildly successful over the last 10 years. It's kind of bizarre.
There's no chance if Watson walks, like, Watt's gone too, right?
I think Watt's gone anyways.
I would say probably too, but there's no chance he takes a discount
stays. He's been, and again, I don't know his contract off the top of my head, but yeah, I think Watt is almost. I don't know. I don't see JJ lining up for them next year.
According to some of the fan groups I'm in, well, there's about 16 teams that think they're going to get JJ Watt next year.
Even though
there's that. Right, exactly.
Guys,
if anyone's in any Facebook groups, Pittsburgh is just assuming they're going to have all 3 Watts next year. If anyone wants to take a look at the Steelers cap situation, there is not a chance in hell J.J. Watt is playing for the Steelers next year.
Unless he plays for the vet minimum.
Yeah, right. Not going to happen.
Nope.
Guys, let's talk about this Browns-Chiefs game. You want to talk about wild. The Browns covered. So from a betting perspective, good for Mahomes for going out, because I don't think they cover if Mahomes is still in that game. But crazy game. Browns. All right, so let's just talk about it. The play of the game, the play that every Cleveland fan is just whining about. My God, they will not shut up about this play. And I get it was huge, but you had almost an entire second half playing Chad Henne and couldn't get it done. But the end zone dive. First of all, let's talk about end zone dives. How dumb. You're an idiot. You're selfish. In the fact that he was still playing in that game is ridiculous.
Yeah. So some of the NFL's player Twitter blew up, especially Patriots players, were like, oh, that's a guy that never played for Bill. Like, Bill would, you'd be on the bench already. Don't reach for the end zone. Don't reach for the pylon. Don't reach for anything, especially the end zone, especially when they just converted first down. They do first and goal from the 1.
Brandon Brister, hot take though. That's the worst rule in sports.
That's not a hot take. That is one of the NHL fixed their worst rule this year. That's the NFL's worst rule by far.
Yeah.
And any other position of the field, it doesn't change hands.
Yeah.
Only in the end zone does it change hands. So I can't believe I'm about to say this. A little sympathetic, not towards Higgins, not towards the guy. The guy fucked up. But it's a little sympathetic toward the fans because it's a horrendous rule.
Yeah, and the thing that they're really mad about, that you can't be mad about the rule. The rule is the rule, right? But they're mad about the head-to-head collision that did take place. I mean, it was 100% head-to-head. I mean, there's really no getting around it. I saw Marcus in a group chat chime in and say, "Good no call," and I'm like, I mean, no, it wasn't a good no call, but it was a no call. I kept hearing Cleveland fans talking about it and saying things like, how do they not overturn it? They replayed it, because you can't fucking call a penalty on a replay. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. So It was a no call. It was a bad no call, but it's the way it goes.
There's never been a football game in the history of the NFL decided by one play.
Yeah, exactly.
Period.
You Chad Henne. Let's talk about Chad Henne. All right, so Mahomes goes down, and we'll talk about his injury in a second. But here's the thing, dude. Andy Reid was feeling dangerous. Chad Henne goes in, and he literally doesn't even alter his offense. It is the same fucking offense he ran with Mahomes. He's scrambling out. Chad Henne's he's been in the league for 14 years.
Making throws across his body into the sideline. Like the throws they say don't make, he's still drawing up out routes on the strong side of the field. Like
they ran 2 zone reads with Chad Henne. I'm like, what are we? All right, same playbook.
Dude, I love it. Okay, so he bombs it downfield in one of the worst interceptions I've seen in quite some time.
That's the worst playoff interception I've seen in like a decade.
Since Lamar's playoff interception last week.
What this shows me is that Andy Reid has grown as a coach, because his problem with the Eagles and his problem early on with the Chiefs is that he was never aggressive enough during the playoffs. One of the most aggressive coaches in history. He was going for it on 4th down before anybody else was. Like back in the McNabb days, but only in the regular season. And then he'd get to the playoffs and he'd just puss out. So many NFC championships. He went to 4 straight NFC championships with the Chiefs or with the Eagles. A lot of people forget that. And he pussed out in all 4 of them. He even pussed out in the fucking Patriots Super Bowl. He was kind of a pussy going into this. And I think that something has kind of clicked with him. He's already got the ring. And so now he's kind of just playing it like Bill Belichick, where he's just like, fuck it. We only want one thing, and that's the Super Bowl. So I like the aggressive mindset. Like, is it smart to play Chad Henne like Mahomes? No. Chad Henne nobody has ever mistaken Chad Henne for Patrick Mahomes, but I just thought it was kind of funny, and it was exactly what the Browns did not expect.
We watched that game together, and even like the posture of the team on that play they went for it. The right guard looked like he was half asleep. I'm like, they're not running a play here. And sure enough, they ran a 2-yard out, and I was like, holy shit! Like those balls on that,
dude, big old steel-plated balls on Andy Reid.
That's why he waddles. It's not because he's fat. So he's carrying around those big old balls.
I'm not so certain that entire gut in front of Andy Reid isn't him just taking his testicles and like stuffing them up into his shirt. Like I'm pretty sure. I think Andy Reid's like, if you take off his balls, he's like 170.
He's just got him shoving some Spanx up around his gut.
Yep.
And real quick, where is Tyreek Hill on your guys' wide receiver list? Like, is he a top 3, top 5?
I think he's an extremely fast player who gets to play with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
I think he's top 30. Maybe.
Really? Wow. Because I was going to say with Mahomes top 5, but you think without Mahomes I still think he's probably top 10.
Not a chance in hell.
15. Man.
He's not even close.
Talented Brandon Cooks. He's a kind of a one-trick pony.
I don't even know if he's a more talented. I think he's a faster. I think Brandon Cooks is a better route runner. I think he's a faster Brandon Cooks.
Just in a vacuum, even without Mahomes, I would take Hill. He's just a more versatile player.
But like, I mean, Hill or Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen, for sure.
I think Keenan Allen's the fringe of the top 10.
Of nature with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, but who wouldn't?
Allen Robinson.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Jeez.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of guys who I think are like in the back end of the top 10 that I would absolutely take over Tyreek Hill.
I think he's top 10. I gotta give him a top 10 talent. But yeah, I don't know, man. Tyreek Hill shoving that coach on the sideline, and you know what? They were fucking around. It's just not a good look, dude. Everyone thinks you broke your son's arm. Like, no horseplay, all right, buddy? Just shoving anybody around, like any aggression is going to be viewed in a negative way. Like,
especially when you weigh 176 pounds. Like, come on, dude. You're not that guy.
How awkward was it when they came back from commercial and like Twitter had blown up? Remember we saw it and we're like, oh shit, we rewinded it and we looked at it and they didn't even say anything. And they come back and they like address it like, oh, look at Tyreek Hill. Like, this guy's probably gonna be playing the Super Bowl. So we got to play this off. Like, oh, he's just being.
So Brandon, we're watching the game. We're all sitting on the couch. Newman like starts, they're going to commercial break. He looks at his phone. I think Drew was talking to somebody and I just yell, whoa, like just yelled, whoa. Cause as they go to cut away, I'm like, he just two-handed shoved this dude with the headset on. Like, that's not a good look.
Angle looked really aggressive, but yeah, it turns out they both had smiles on their face, and it really wasn't much at all. But still, weird move. Yeah, dude. Pat. Now let's talk about the Patrick Mahomes injury. So the word on the street is that he broke his toe prior to him going out. So the play just before. I don't know if you guys heard that or not.
Dude, he had a walk. I think it happened earlier in the game. I don't know if it was a broken toe, but I mean, he was in visible pain. I mean, he was grimacing for about a quarter, and it looked really bad. Again, how many times like Mahomes to the tent, Mahomes to the tent. They're wrapping the foot. I felt like I was watching, that more than I was watching the game. But yeah, no, he's in rough shape going into this game,
dude. If anybody can do it, it's him. But wow, there's some question marks. I've wanted to see a Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl just because that Super Bowl last year, Mahomes postseason run last year was just fucking magical. Like every game was just pure gold, including the Super Bowl game. What a great Super Bowl. So the whole time I've been thinking, I really want Mahomes. Now, all right, so let's go around. What Super Bowl do you want? I think I want Bills, Bucks.
Oh no, I want Mahomes Rodgers. Like I want the best quarterback talent against the best quarterback playing this year.
I can't do Mahomes Rodgers for so many reasons. I don't need 36,000 references to Super Bowl I. I don't need the progressive versus Allstate shit. Just progressive. I don't need like a progressive bowl. There's so many, State Farm. Yeah. Baker's gone. It's just State Farm. But there's so many dumb like Super Bowl storylines and they try to fill 2 weeks worth of media that would just be terrible. I would love to see Josh Allen versus Tom Brady for sure. Or Rodgers versus Josh Allen, but I definitely want to see the Bills. I think that'd be a fun story. It's been so long for them.
Losing the Super Bowl again would be hilarious because I think they definitely would be an underdog if whoever they play. They would not be the favorite.
You know what? I'm gonna say if they play the Bucks, I'll bet they're favorites. I'll bet they're 2.5 point favorites.
So I saw somebody on Twitter. It's like, imagine you're the Buffalo Bills. You finally get rid of Tom Brady, and then you have to face him in the Super Bowl.
See, that's the best storyline because it's what everybody wants to see. The Bills, the most vaunted, fucking disappointing franchise in history. And they're so disappointing. A lot of it has to do with Tom Brady just kicking their ass year after year after year. He goes to the NFC and then you meet him again in the fucking Super Bowl. If the Bills can beat him in that, oh my God. I'm sorry. I think that in terms of just like fantasy endings, that is the one you want to see. But if Brady wins and the Bills lose their 5th Super Bowl to Tom fucking Brady, wow.
The Tom Brady is not the best of all time holdouts that are left. Like it has to be down to like 5% of football fans. What do they do if Brady wins the Super Bowl this year? Do they just stick to their guns and say nope, doesn't matter?
Dude,
if you haven't given in yet, you're not going to. So.
For real. Nah, then the cheater thing's going to come in. That's the one I've been seeing all across.
That isn't a Venn diagram. That is just the people who don't think he's the GOAT also think he's a cheater.
Yep. So Bucks, Bills, there's no combination that won't be good, but I think Bucks, Bills is just the best in terms of.
If you get Chiefs, Bucks, you get like, the greatest of all time versus the next greatest. I mean, again, as I mentioned at the top of the pod, this is the best 4 combination of teams that I think you could have put in. I think you could have maybe substituted Brees for Brady as Brees's farewell tour. But NFL's just got to be drooling at these matchups.
From a meme perspective, I think the best matchup is Bucks Chiefs because it's so easy to make fun of Tom Brady. That's what we've made so much of our following based on.
Let's run that hit clip one more time.
Dude, and everybody loves making fun of Andy Reid. I don't know what it is about the guy. It's kind of because he makes fun of himself. But, dude, Andy Reid fat jokes will never get old to me. They're fucking hilarious. That mustache, man, you can Photoshop that on anything and it looks.
They're right up there with Rob Ryan. Just so memeable.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's just beautiful. Just a beautiful thing. All right, did you guys actually watch the Ravens-Bills game? I watched it, but I didn't really watch it. I don't think I was really there. I was Scotch Trevor in it. And I was really, really fucked up during this game, but I do recall it. I recall a lot of it. Windy as fuck. It made me gain a lot of respect for Josh Allen. And this whole season has just been the Josh Allen proving me wrong tour. Because I have not been high on Josh Allen pretty much through his entire career up to this point. And dude, what a stud. And he fits that fucking Buffalo terrain, that climate so well. I mean, he truly is. He's like the king of the North, man. I love the guy. What did you guys think about that game?
It was weird in a game like that with the type of team Buffalo is. You would think they'd try to run the ball, but all they did was, I forget the splits. Like it was maybe 80-20, or maybe even greater. Like it was insane that they just, you think of Buffalo, you think of gritty, blue collar. No, they want to sling the rock, and they don't care if it's 20 degrees and windy. It worked for them. So, who am I to say, to do it a different way? But weird, not your father's Bills, I guess.
There's two things that the Bills did and that they routinely do that I love. I hate when teams play prevent defense because I think it gives up just so much, and you just let a team. It's the NFL. Like they're going to find open guys. They're going to hit open guys. They don't play prevent defense. And when it comes down to killing the clock, they know what kills the clock more than anything is moving the chains. They don't just run the ball 3 times and, all right, we ran off 2 minutes and we're going to give you the ball back. They continued to do what they did, what got them there, what they know how their offense runs the best. They move the chains.
Yep. Yeah. And with their I'm blanking on his name, but they lost one of their running backs right for the game. I kind of knew that they were going to air it out, and you can't run on Baltimore. So I really love their game plan. And they executed it. Nobody thought they were. I think they're really lucky that it didn't snow. It was windy as hell, dude. You could see it. And dude, Tucker, one of the most accurate kickers in NFL history, just worst performance of his entire.
On that first one, you could just tell it was happening.
Oh yeah.
Like I already started like pulling down Google images because you could just like how thick they were laying on the compliments. Here comes the miss.
Yep. Oh man, just. Whew.
So just a little bit of a question on the Bills. Did they lay a blueprint to go out and get a wide receiver? Was it not obvious that they were like a wide receiver away on that offense from just exploding? Because, man, Diggs has just been – he was a monster on Saturday, and he's been a monster all season. Do you think we see more of, trades to go get your guys?
Yeah, I mean, wide receiver has always been a coveted position in the NFL. It's going to continue to be. There's just so many misses in the draft that, yeah, if you see a guy that's discontent on another team and you can throw a first-round pick or, Jesus, the Texans traded a second for DeAndre Hopkins, right? It's a second-round pick.
Yeah.
That's just bananas. I mean, that's one of the biggest fleeces in NFL history, but that's another thing entirely. Absolutely, you go get your guy.
Yeah. It just worked out so well.
I would say, I mean, I know I draw back to Bill Belichick all the time, but obviously they've been so successful, it's hard not to. Sometimes it's Bill goes and gets his guy. Like he knows the draft is a crapshoot. What you see on film doesn't necessarily translate. If there's a guy who's proven he can do a certain role, now he'll go after guys like to play special teams. He'll go after guys to do. He loves the trade. He loves moving during the season, and he'll move back in the draft 5 spots just to go grab a guy. And if you can get some guy that's proven at the NFL level and they're still earlier in their career, go get them. I think and it worked out for both teams. It's one of the rare occurrences where a trade really works for both teams.
He also loves injured fawns, Bill Belichick. He's like the hyena or the lion kind of,
Oh, a first-round talent that falls to the second because of an ACL? Delicious.
Josh Gordon is another weed charge.
Chad Johnson. Remember when he brought in Chad Johnson for a week and a half?
Dude, I love it. He just goes out and just rolls the dice, and he's like, nope, this guy didn't work. Like, AB raped somebody, got to get rid of him.
Albert Hainsworth.
I fucking love it, dude. Go for it. Like,
but for every one of those, cut AB immediately. Then he gets a Corey Dillon, who without Corey Dillon, they don't win that Super Bowl in 2004.
Yep. Now Corey Dillon. I mean, Randy Moss is one of the greatest trades.
That one worked out.
Even though they didn't win the Super Bowl, like I've seen people try to play the angle like, they didn't win a Super Bowl with them. Yeah, well, fucking nobody could have predicted the rise of the Giants that year. But they won 16 games, and that's one of the greatest offenses of all time, if not the greatest. So,
yep.
But all right, guys, we winding down here.
Absolutely.
says we are. Any closing thoughts on this weekend? Any predictions? What do you guys think?
Urban Meyer to the Jaguars. Worst move or best move? I think that's
There's
gonna
no
be pretty
question, of course.
decisive. He's won everywhere he's gonna go, but he also everywhere he's went. Has never left on good terms. Gonna be interesting to see how this for the Jaguars.
Your face froze in just the worst possible way. I can't imagine going out and bringing in Urban Meyer when like Eric Bieniemy's still out there, when before Sala was signed. Like that's just, they're dumb and they deserve to be terrible. And they will be terrible.
Just Urban Meyer's style, where he's kind of like the frat president. That style is not going to fly in the NFL. Maybe it flies in little town Jacksonville. So maybe the right team got Urban Meyer. And you're right, he has one wherever he goes, but he is not of a high moral fortitude. And I just can't think that guy's not going to just go down the same route he always does. I want to see, rather than him getting his own paychecks, I want to see when other people's paychecks are on the line. I want to see how players react to that. So we'll see. But hey, they rolled the dice. We'll see.
We'll make tons of memes out of that. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I've already wrote a few articles on it. All right, guys. From all of us here at the Sports Memery podcast, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yeah.